guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, the Bright Side Girl, and today we're doing a book recommendation video about books that feature baking. Okay, so this was prompted for a reading challenge for my upcoming readathon, JINGLEBELLATHON. I will link all the information down below in the description as well as up in the cards. This is going to be my 2-week Christmas, winter, holiday themed readathon, and one of the challenges is to read a book featuring baking. So I thought I'd pop in here real quick and give you a few recommendations. Some of these are loosely about baking, some of them just have like a little element in there, and some of them the whole focus is baking. I have a couple that are not Christmas related but will still kind of give you those cozy baking vibes. So I hope this is helpful and we're just gonna jump in. I've got my little holiday apron on for you and my little cookie earrings. We are ready to go. So we're gonna start off with the books that are not Christmas or holiday related. So we're gonna start off with Sourdough by Robin Sloan. This is such a unique gem of a book. I love this book so much. I want to read it every single year. So in this one we are following Lois, and she is a robotics engineer. She works on robotic arms in San Francisco. I believe she has just moved to San Francisco, kind of newer to the area, spends her whole day like working and coding, and then she kind of collapses at night. But while she's there, she discovers this like restaurant that sells faux and sourdough bread, but they only deliver. And so she gets it delivered to her house, and it is the most life-changing faux and sourdough bread that she's ever had. And so she begins to order from them a lot because she loves it so much. And then the brothers that run the shop run into some visa issues and they wind up having to close. But before they leave her with some of their sourdough starter, and she is tasked to keep it alive and try to recreate their bread. So this is such a interesting story. It gets like a little weird and strange, but I feel like that just adds to the charm of it. Sourdough starter, if you're not familiar with it, is a combination of good yeast and good bacteria that is in flour that will cause bread to rise naturally versus using like packaged yeast. It ferments the bread dough and it makes it much easier for you to digest and consume. I actually work a lot with sourdough for my mom's company that I work for, so this one had a special place in my heart. So she has to keep this sourdough starter alive because you're working with some good bacteria, and she like literally gets really into it. She like plays it music and she talks to it and she does all of these things, and it starts to become a little bit more alive than what she expected, and it's just so charming. It talks a lot about San Francisco and farmers markets, and she kind of changes her life. It is just such a good book. It's a shorter one as well. Loved it so much, and it's one that I want to reread every year, and it would be perfect for the readathon. Next up, and I have a copy of both of these books, but I cannot find them right now with my shelves being backwards. So next up we have A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. So this one is actually set in the springtime, but it has a ton to do with baking and cooking, and will give you all those kind of cozy vibes. It's also a fantasy, like a cozy fantasy, but I feel like the stakes are kind of medium high. It's not necessarily like a slow read. In this one we're following 14-year-old Mona. Not like the other wizards that are charged with defending her city. She can't control lightning or speak to water. Her familiar is a sourdough starter, and her magic only works on bread. She has a comfortable life in her aunt's bakery, making gingerbread men come to life and dance. So Mona basically has the ability to put magic into her baking, so it has a lot to do with baking. And then one day she discovers someone has been murdered in her aunt's bakery, and she kind of has to uncover the murder and deal with the consequences of this and figure out what's happening. She makes friends along the way. There's a whole like battle scene that happens, and it has a lot to do with baking and sourdough again and gingerbread men, and it is just so good. This made my top 12 list of 2022 last year. It just absolutely blew me away. It's so cozy, it's so sweet. Perfect choice for the readathon. Okay, so next we have the Hannah Swinson series. Now I did something that I absolutely never do, and I actually read the 20th book in this series first before I read any of the others. I actually haven't read any of the other books yet because it was a Christmas caramel murder. So these are all cozy baking murder mysteries. So we have like chocolate chip cookie murder, candy for Christmas, strawberry shortcake murder, and they're all very, very short. This is probably one of the true first cozy murder mysteries that I read, and I actually think that I would have enjoyed it now more than I did at the time. I did like it then. I think I gave it like a 3.5 star. I'll even let you count this one for the short and sweet category because it is 200 pages, but the book itself is very small. I feel like if it was a regular size book, it wouldn't be that many pages. These all revolve around Hannah and like her bakery. I do think you'll enjoy the series as a whole if you read them in order, but I don't feel like it ruined anything for me to read this one. I definitely didn't want to read like 20 books before getting to it, but I do think the second one in the series is also Christmas related if you want to jump in there. But this has a lot to do with baking and cooking, and it has little recipes in it, and it was just really cute and cozy, but also had that fun murder mystery element. Okay, so next we have The 12 Dates of Christmas by Jenny Bayliss. Again, this made my top 10 or top 12 of 2021. I absolutely love a really good Christmas rom-com. So this is an adult Christmas rom-com, and it is just so freaking cute and adorable. Sometimes I have a hard time finding holiday books that are not spicy, but they also aren't like too dark or about like overcoming like cancer or sadness, but this one just had all the feel-good things. Okay, so we have Kate Turner, who is having a hard time finding someone to date. She's in a sleepy town of Blexford, England, and it isn't exactly brimming with prospects. She's found fulfillment in her career as a designer and in her delicious side job baking for her old friend Matt's neighborhood cafe. But then her best friend signs her up for a dating agency that promises to help singles find love for the holidays. 23 days until Christmas, 12 dates with 12 different men, and the odds must be in her favor, right? First, we have the baking element because her best friend Matt owns a cafe and she bakes for him. So they talk a lot about baking. And then I believe one or two of the dates are around kind of like either baking or building a gingerbread house, but all the dates are holiday themed and super cute, and you get kind of attached to the characters and you don't know who she's gonna pick. It is just such an adorably sweet, fun, cozy rom-com. Like, I want this one to be a movie so bad. I loved it so much. Cannot recommend this enough. Then we have Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. This is a YA rom-com that's very well beloved by Rachel Cohn and David Levithan. This is also a Netflix series now that is phenomenal. Like, one of the best things you can watch at Christmas. So we have Dash, who is kind of like a Grinchy, Scroogey type character. He doesn't really like Christmas that much. He's having a little bit of drama with his family. And we've got Lily, who is just the essence of Christmas spirit. She loves to bake, she loves to decorate and craft. I think it's like her uncle that owns this bookstore, and one day she finds a book and the book has like a dare in it, and she's supposed to do the dare and then return the book back. And basically her and Dash are communicating through this journal, and they don't know each other, they don't know who anybody is, and they're doing these different challenges over Christmas, and they kind of give them back and forth to each other. So it's just such a sweet, lovely time. It has a lot to do with the romance, but also family. And Lily really loves baking. I think one of the challenges that she gives to Dash has to do with baking also. So it is such a sweet time. It's very Christmassy and holiday-esque, but I feel like the cheese factor is not too high. And this is a series as well, so there are 3 books total. You're gonna fall in love with them. Highly recommend. Next, we have The Parisian Christmas Bake Off by Jenny Oliver. I read this one a couple years ago for either Jinglebellathlon or a different Christmas readathon, and I read it while I was baking things, and it was so fun. So I believe this is an adult Christmas book. Watching snowflakes fall on the Eiffel Tower, Rachel Smithson's cozy English village feels very far away. Thankfully, so does her commitment-phobic ex, probably already kissing someone else under the mistletoe. But she hasn't come to Paris to mope, she comes to bake hard. Because there is a search for Paris's next patisserie apprentice is about to begin, and super chef judge Henry Salernus is a famously tough cookie. But Rachel isn't about to let her confidence or her pastry crumble. She's got 1 week, mounds of melt-in-the-mouth macaroons, and just enough time to prove that she really is star baker. So we kind of have like a Great British Bake-Off situation, but in Paris. So we've got this Paris setting. It's very Christmassy. There's lots of baking. I really enjoyed it. There's a little romance in here, but that's not necessarily the main focus. And I thought this one was very underrated and just really good. So perfect for the readathon. And lastly, this might be the best fit for the readathon overall, is The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. I love this book so much. So this is, again, is an adult Christmas read. This is featuring 2 sisters, and they are identical twins. One sister lives in LA and she is a judge on a very famous baking show, and she loses her ability to taste, and this could possibly ruin her career. While her other sister lives in this quaint little mountain town, and she is really struggling to keep her family bakery alive, and they decide to swap places. So the LA sister comes and starts to bake for the bakery, and the bakery sister comes to judge for the competition. There's a couple little romances that happen. We've got kind of like a parent trap situation, but without the parents, and I just thought that that element made it so fun. We've got baking on both sides because they have to try the food and the reality cooking, and then the other one has to bake for the bakery. I just feel like it was so cute and really, really fun, and it has a lot to do with sisters and family, but it has a nice little romance in there as well, and overall just like a really well-rounded read that has a lot to do with baking. Okay, you guys, so those are all of the books that I want to recommend here. I actually haven't read that many Christmas books that have a baking element in them that's like prominent enough that I would recommend it for this category, so we're going to work on that for the readathon as well. But let me know what you're choosing for this category down below in the comments. Let me know if any of these books sound good to you. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at @thebrightside_girl for more recommendations for different categories and things like that. I'll link any other videos I have that work with the categories down below, and let me know any of your baking book recommendations as well down below in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to start the readathon, and I will see you next time on The Bright Side.